Hey, Elliot here. Today I'm going to do a bit of an overview of my new plugin, Unified Interactive Physical Foliage. I want to show you what it can do, how easy it is to use, and yeah. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up, you can see that we've got support for very large scale foliage interaction simulation. I use the term simulation lightly. So you can see that all of these actors can flatten the grass and they can interact with these plants, and we can have plants into the distance forever without a performance issue. And we also have some really nice true physics interaction here. So you can see that these leaves are all bending and flopping around nicely in a more Uncharted style. So yeah, we support true physics interaction and we support shader-based interaction. And now I will go on and show you how all of that works. So our shader interaction is using render targets, as you may or may not have already worked out. It's done in world space, player locally, so a large area around the player will always have interactive foliage based on shaders. So you can see if we run over here, I might be able to spawn some explosions in the distance, and you can see that foliage over there is all flopping around nicely while I'm still over here running over grass. Something nice is you can see that even though it's done with render targets, height is accounted for, so I can be on a platform and the foliage below me isn't being flattened, and I can come under here and run around with it, and you can see it's not affecting the foliage on top. And yeah, so that's all super easy. It's all handled for you. You don't need to do anything code-wise to get that working. It works with your own foliage as well. So if we come into our simulation folder here, material functions, you can see that we've got a whole stack of material functions here as a part of the plugin. Some of them are more utility-based functions, but all of the shader interaction effects are also wholly contained in a material function. So we've got the flatten effect, which is where you're seeing grass get flattened. We've got trailing interaction, and this is a simple shader-based one, and we've also got trailing interaction for pivot painted foliage. So we support pivot painter as well as non-pivot painter foliage, so that whatever foliage shader you're working with, we can work nicely with it as well. We're providing a whole lot of foliage with the plugin, and we'll be announcing plans in the future for extended support for that. But this plugin is designed to work with anything that you already have or anything that you're going to make, and be super easy to get up and running. So yeah, if you want your own grass to flatten, you just add the flatten material function to your existing world position offset. Same goes for all of the trailing interaction and all of that. So yeah, that's how the shader interaction works. And we also have true physics interaction. Now, to demo this, I'm just going to show you our manager here, and I'm just going to swap out this manager for this blueprinted version of the UIPF actor. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, you don't want to be simulating an entire world full of physics when you don't have to, and we're not, of course. And so you can see that we're just switching out these instant static mesh versions of the plants for interactive versions. And you can see that the transition is like super seamless. The wind stays the same, and it all looks really nice. And I'm super happy with that result, and I think it looks lovely. I think it's been too long that Uncharted has been the only game with bendy leaves like this, you know. Alright, so I wanted some. And yeah, so it switches these out. You can customize the radius that they get switched out. You can also activate them manually, so you can see there that let me find one that's obviously in my view. So you can see there that I'm just doing a raycast and saying, hey, activate, and applying physics to them as well. So you have full control over that if you want to, but it's also handled completely automatically for you. I'll just show you here as well. These plants, they're all painted in, and there's nothing else you need to do. Once they're painted in, it will just switch out for the interactive one. A big focus of mine was making this easy, because it's a huge pain if this foliage tool has to interrupt your workflow. So it all just works with the existing Unreal workflow. The shader interaction works with landscape grass as well. All you have to do when you're configuring a physics actor is add to this data table, and you can create your own data table as well if you like. You don't have to use this one. That's good if you've got multiple projects or you want to have a data table per level. So you can see that physical foliage piece is defined with its name. You tell it the static mesh, tell it the skeletal mesh, and you can also set its interactive states here. So you can interact with world static, world dynamic, and physics foliage if you want. Mostly don't recommend interacting with other physical foliage. In theory, it looks really nice, but you just have to take a lot of care not to paint any down with existing intersections, because when they spawn inside each other, they kind of explode a little bit, and then that really just gives away that they're switching in, and you can see them activating. So that option is there because I know that some people might want that, and it does look really cool if you have leaves knocking other leaves around, but it just means you have to be really careful, thank you autosave, with how you paint it in. So yeah, this is the switching side of things isn't anything particularly fancy, but I've tried to make it super easy. So as you can see, all you do is set up the relationship between a static mesh and a skeletal mesh, and the system does all the work for you. Let me just I can show you this here easily. So if we want to replace the banana plant with a noodle, we can see that all our interactive ones become noodles now, and as they switch back into banana plants, switch back into stacks, they become banana plants. So yeah, we can really easily customize that system to our needs. It automatically sets the scale, and the transition, except for when I'm swapping for the wrong skeletal mesh, is super seamless. So now I'm going to talk about the manager a little bit, just show you the systems that are there, and yeah, so let's go and have a look at that. So we've got a manager in our level. This is just an actor class that you can add to any level. You can blueprint your own ones as well, which I've done here. So say you have your own data table per project, you could do your project names UIPF manager and have the data table predefined in there, so you just drag that blueprint in. Same goes for demo interactive actor here, the actor class, sorry. If you want to predetermine one, just configure these settings for your project and drag that pre-configured one in, just to make it real easy on you, you can do it that way. So yeah, we can enable or disable both interactive workflows. We're going to support activating on impulse. At the moment, you saw that I could manually activate things by clicking on them. Oh yeah, I should probably change the banana plant back to noodles, shouldn't I? I mean the noodle back to banana plant. I mean something. Sorry. Okay, so you can see that we can enable or disable the features as we need to. Activating on impulse, I want to be able to, so you can see that when I'm in here, I can interact with all of these physics plants with impulses, just like I can interact with the shader foliage. But I also want to allow you to spawn those impulses on very distant plants, and if you want to, allow physics in the distance to activate the same way that we can with the manual raycast method, So that one's not implemented yet, but I reckon I'll probably get it in there for 1.0, and if not, it'll be in there for a patch quickly, or an update quickly after. Limiting the tick rate, you can do, this is mostly just to affect the splatting of the render targets. So I had to think there for a second. You can change the activation, deactivation radius. This is the radius at which static actors get switched for the physics sim ones, and the manual activation distance is how far away you can manually activate something by shooting it. Customize the data table and the actor class. So manager, super simple, drag it into your level, that's all good to go. And to tell something that it is an interactor, you just need to add a simple component. So let's go into our character here, and we can see that we've got our UIPF interactor component. Not as many settings on this. You can limit the tick rate again if you need to. Minor performance optimization, this might come in more handy for like super low end. This is just how often it tries to update its position for the render target splatting. You can tell it whether you want it to actually interact with grass. So maybe for some reason you have a character that you don't want to interact with grass, but it's the player character, or you want it to be able to manually activate something, so you can just disable that if you need to. And this is just the diameter of our interactor. So 85 centimeters is what I've got this character set up for, and this is to do with how wide the radius is that it's splatting the ground, splatting the grass interaction render target with. So while we're here, I'll show you a couple of little blueprint functions. So manual activation of foliage is super easy. It just takes a ray hit as input. I might add a manual option to this, but I think taking the hit like this is probably the best, because you'll most likely be wanting to do this with a line trace. I'll probably expose some a manual version of this function as well. But yeah, so it's super easy to manually activate foliage in the distance. You can specify whether it's with an impulse or not, and its impulse strength. If you want to like be shooting a plant, this will just let it queue it up so that once the physics is activated, it will activate. And we can also come down and we'll see impulse at location is a function on the manager, and this is what we use to spawn those explosions that I showed you earlier. Can set its strength and its diameter and its location, and it's all easy peasy. And this kind of impulse will properly interact with all of your simulated foliage and all of the render target foliage as well. So yeah, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to in this brief overview. If anyone has any questions, I'd love to hear from you. I'm really excited about where this is at. I think it's looking pretty snazzy. I've always wanted a good level of foliage interaction in all of my games. I was heavily inspired by like the stuff in Frostbite, and more recently The Division. They're doing some really good shade interaction, which just looks super convincing. Very subtle, but just like having that foliage move around when you touch it makes the world feel so much more alive. So yeah, and I thought it was important to have everything included in the one package. Originally, I was actually just going to do the physics swapping, but I know we need all of our foliage to be interactive, so it's alright. I got you. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled. I'll probably be putting up a trailer in the next few days to coincide with whenever it gets approved by Epic. We've got some more foliage coming in as well to show off, and yeah, I'm excited. Cheers, thanks for watching.